Thank you. Thanks so much. So yeah, I work at Overbrook High School in Pine Hill, New Jersey. It's South Jersey. And I'm teaching more of a supplemental support type of class at Pine Hill this year. So I've really found that I've been using these assessments during this time of unusual education, so to say. And the students are really, really okay with this as far as assessments with formative assessments and summative assessments as well. Next slide, let's see. Oh, there we go. As I said, with formative assessments, some students are using it for practice assessments. It'll allow them to check their responses. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Edulastic. I've used it for probably about 2 years now. I stumbled upon it in an ed tech type of conference, and I just absolutely fell in love with it, about how you can share assessment questions with your colleagues as well. And just making our lives a little bit easier in the department, we've been using these formative assessments. So there's practice assessments, which will allow students to check their responses. And you can also click the number of times it allows them to check their responses. So if you only want them to check it once, you can really see how well they're doing. And similarly for the summative assessments as well. So sometimes you can assign as a practice assessment for students with IEPs, with retake options, but I can also assign, instead of a practice assessment, a class assessment. But that will also, you also have the option to have them check their options there. If they, and they can retake it during the real time of a test. And one of my favorite things is that you can see real-time progress. You can see how the class is doing. You can see if I made a mistake on a question. Often I do that, making the answer key incorrectly. And if I see that everybody's getting something wrong, it's probably something on my end. And question development. My favorite thing to do is modeling with drop-down options and the drag and drop options, especially with my students with special needs, or if they have limited options. Instead of having a question bank, you can embed just only 2 choices. You could also challenge students with up to 4 or 5. It doesn't matter how many options that you give them. But sometimes I like to just keep it to 2 or 3 instead of giving them such a wide range. The other thing is just matching with pictures from our own classroom activities, whether it is experiments or with things that they're familiar with as far as what activity we use, maybe a lab assessment, maybe photographs that we just took from the classroom. So the matching with pictures from our class activities is wonderful. We'll go to the next one. Here. So as I was saying, for formative assessments, you can assign it as a warm-up or an exit ticket. You can ask them very quick questions. It doesn't have to be 4 questions that I have here or 5 questions, but I definitely see, as I said before, something was going on with question 4. And that really offers some insight as to, is it me? Do I need to improve my practice on question 4? What was going on? Why did they get that wrong? Did I rush that material? And you can see it really took a long time for them to answer question 4. But as I said, is the format or answer wrong? Because sometimes I've done that, where I'm rushing through. These are very easy to make, but often I rush through it, and I can get them done in just 5 minutes. And the kids will tell me I'm wrong all the time, and they love to do that. So overall, what confused them, and how can I ensure that they learn the content? And I really use it just to improve my practice as well, not just student understanding. Okay. And like I said, for summative assessments, I love the data. So as science teachers, just being able to see real-time data on how the kids are doing on a a test right away. I feel like an average student score is very successful of an 86. I only give unit tests. I don't give chapter tests. I give unit tests. And you can see, I can also see that many students were absent, and definitely in this virtual teaching time, I know we're all experiencing that. But as a class assessment, this is collected and compared to the next test that I'm going to give. So that is another fun little technique. But you can see all the different ways it's presented, you know, proficient, basic, below basic. It looks like maybe my below basic, they just click through it to get it done. But Edulastic allows me to get into the entire class fairly easily. And let's see, what's the next one? So this was one of the question development activities. So I'm sure most of you biology teachers recognize this. We had gone over photosynthesis and what's going on inside a chloroplast like crazy. And this was just one of the activities that we did. We had done it on a Jamboard, but then I wanted to see how much the students really understood from this picture that we had done together on a Jamboard. So I put some steps up there and on how to make these. And these are little drop-down tabs attached to every single one of these pictures. Now, depending on the type of population that I have, maybe I would limit the number of answers. But this was really a formative assessment just to see how they had done on that day's activity. And they were allowed to check their options. In these drop-down boxes, it gave 3 options. But I did limit it for other students so they could feel successful as well, where I could limit it to 2 options in every drop-down box. But they had done well with this, and they actually love this option. The other thing that you could do instead of having these drop-down boxes is that you could have drag and drop. So if you wanted to use a word bank type of assessment, you could create that word bank and have them drag and drop just right into those spots that we provided.